Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch it so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 4 of Paramount Plus's Mayor of Kingstown, entitled The Pool. The episode title here is based upon the ending scene that we see. And I'm going to start with the end scene because it ties into the opening scene. And I wanted to talk about this for a couple of reasons. So I'm going to start with the beginning. In the beginning, we see a cold open that I found at the time to be to be kind of shitty, because I'm like, what the fuck just happened here? Like, that was super unclear, because we see the construction worker moving dirt from one location like to the next, like over to the side by a few feet. He discovers this metal, and he sees a lock on it, and then someone asks him like, what do you see? And he's like, I ain't see shit, nothing. Anyway, and then we see him putting dirt down. I'm like, and kind of like pressing it down. So I'm like, I don't know, like I saw him digging up stuff. So I'm like, did he put dirt onto the thing and then cover it back up? Because then I'm like, well, why would he rebury it? You didn't even look at it. It had a lock on it. So I'm like, at the time I'm thinking like, this was dumb. But I felt stupid when they when they showed that he had when they showed that he had what was in the box. I was just like, oh, so he was covering it up so he could go back and get it when no one else was around. And now that scene is smart, because I'm like, oh, okay. And I was able to put that together because that was not explicitly stated in the episode. But he ends up taking, I didn't even explain what he found. So he finds bonds. And these are presumably what Milo has been, I guess, wanting Mike to retrieve for him for the entirety of the show's run. So halfway through the second season, we finally find out that Milo has millions of dollars in bonds buried. So he finds the bonds, he takes them home. His wife tells him, like, essentially, hey, we could get money for these somehow. He takes them to a pawn, I think a pawn shop, because the guy asks him, like, you have anything you want to pawn? He takes him to a pawn shop, I guess. And the guy's like, I'm not going to fuck with that, but I know somebody who might be able to hook you up. And he gives him the worst name he could possibly give him, which is Joseph. And he goes to see Joseph with Milo's bonds, of course, unknowingly bringing Milo's property back to him, or at the very least alerting one of Milo's associates that his property is now out on the open. The guy, Joseph, tortures him. Horace is the construction worker's name. Horace doesn't give him any information about the location of the bonds, and at the end of the episode title is called The Pool. There's a community pool, bunch of kids go into it. One dives in, and we see Horace's body tortured, fingerless, and still tied to a chair at the bottom of the pool. So that's the point of the episode title. I also wanted to point out, I didn't notice in the opening scene because he had a construction hat on, but I noticed it later in the episode once we could see his face clearly. The fucking Horace construction guy is Skinny Pete from Breaking Bad, and he looks like he's still been doing a fuck ton of meth, and I don't know. I didn't know how old he was. I'm like, man, he looks old as fuck. And I don't remember him looking that old on Breaking Bad. I looked him up. He was born in 1971. Like, so that means even on Breaking Bad, he was already old. And that's shitty for me to call him old because loose math on Breaking Bad, he was probably my current age. But I mean, I think they were trying to play him off as like a younger guy, like a teenager or something, right? But whatever the case may be, that's the name. That's why the episode is named what it is, and that's what happened in this opening scene. And I thought overall this was an enjoyable episode, but I'm coming more and more to the realization that the Mike / Bunny / prison exchange situation is not only the most interesting aspect of the show, it might be the only interesting aspect of the show. And now that's not to say that, well, it is to say that the rest of the show isn't interesting, but fortunately for the show, like 90% of it revolves around that storyline. So the rest of it is such a small portion of the show that it doesn't bring the show down overall for it to be there. But I do want to talk about this briefly because there's two other main plot lines that we've seen this season and in this episode. And I'm just not, why are we dealing with this? The first is Iris. And you guys heard me last week. I'm fucking sick of Iris. I'm sick of the Iris character. Now I'm even more sick. I was sick of the Iris character in season 1. But now I'm sick of the Iris character and the Iris storyline. Like in this episode, here's the entirety of Iris in this episode. She gets into an altercation with a black girl at the club over thinking that this woman stole some of her money or her pills or whatever. The woman in charge is like, are we going to have a problem with you, Iris? And then later, Skinny Pete comes up and asks where Joseph is, and Iris directs him to Joseph and then is triggered by a John who's named Mike. What the fuck did we need that for? Iris is so pointless and is such a shitty character, and I don't want to shit on the actress, but the character, I'm trying to be very clear. The character is terrible. She's worthless, pointless, irritating, and just one of those. She's what I talk about, what I hate when they cast female protagonists as damsels in distress who are either serving as a thorn in the paw of the protagonist or there's someone who the protagonist constantly has to protect. And that's all Iris is, and she's a super uninteresting version of that. And I don't need, can they please kill the Iris character? She's so pointless. I don't need her anymore. And she's terrible. And then we have this storyline with Miriam that I can't even presume to know what the point of the Miriam stuff is. I have no clue. Like, we see her go to a prison with like, I guess it's like a juvenile facility. There's young men in there that she goes to talk to, including the guy who mugged her in the last episode or 2 episodes ago. And these kids share some stories about what happened in their lives that enraged them. And we see the guy who mugged Miriam looking contemplative, and that's it. That's it. Why do we need this? 4 episodes into the season, and the Iris and Miriam stuff is it's worse than uninteresting. It's unnecessary. And like our understanding of them as characters and their relation to this storyline and this plot, they weren't furthered by their scenes this week. If you call it the Iris storyline or the Miriam storyline, they were progressed in the sense of they had scenes. But where is this going? What is the point? Like just get that shit out of here, man, or fix it up. Like the Iris and Miriam shit, I don't fucking need it. Sorry, Diane Weiss. Sorry, whoever the lady is that plays Iris. I think I think Diane Weiss is a great actress. The woman who plays Iris, I haven't seen her in anything else, so I can't say she's a great actress, but I have no problem with her. But these characters are awful. The Iris character is awful, and her plotline is awful. Just the Miriam plotline is awful. The Miriam character, I have no positive or negative feelings for. Very indifferent. But that's my time shitting on the episode. So let's get to the good stuff. I don't want to come off like I don't like this show or I don't like anything about it. Because like I said at the top, that's like not even 10% of what made up this episode. So like but I wanted to get that out the way because I'm fully fed up with Iris, and I'm like most of the way fed up with the Miriam plotline. But I'm loving everything involving the Mike and Bunny plotline, including even like, I guess what I consider it to be like almost like a Mike Bunny spinoff plotline, which is Kyle's plotline. And I guess on the surface, you could look at that as separate, just like you would Iris's and Miriam's. But I feel like Kyle is more so tied into the main plotline because we see Kyle, Kyle's trauma revolves around situations that Mike has put him in. But now we've seen Kyle press Mike about giving him work, giving him something to do, which is, from my perspective, pulling Kyle into the Mike storyline to potentially sacrifice Kyle for the Mike storyline. Like, it feels like Kyle's part of that, and he's going to be somehow related to whatever retribution is going to happen for over what happens in this episode with the prison and whatnot. The transfers, I'm sorry. I think what also is going to make the Kyle being brought into the Mike plotline or being moved closer to the Mike plotline interesting is that Mike finds out from Bunny that people in the prison, other leaders in the prison, like the Aryan guy that we saw, I forget his name, they have it out for Mike as well. And he warns Mike about this. But again, I think the show and Mike within Mike, the show is making it so that Mike is intentionally, they are intentionally not tying Mike to Kyle in that perspective, right? He's not thinking, he hasn't said, I can't have Kyle working with me because Bunny might send somebody after me. One of the other people in the prison might send somebody after me. That's the natural train of thought that Mike should be having, right? Like, I gotta keep Kyle isolated, just like he did with Kareem. I gotta keep Kyle isolated because there's people who are gonna come after me if this fucking transfer thing happens, and if my plan doesn't work out, I need to keep Kyle safe. I think the show is intentionally not raised that point so that the viewers don't think of that, so that when the retribution comes and it's Kyle, we can be surprised, which if that happens, sorry, I just spoiled it for you. But I talked last week about the plan with Bunny going wrong and Kyle being the person who would ultimately end up paying that price, so this isn't new, but while we're still, I think, very clearly on that trajectory, which, I mean, obviously we are, what I said came true. Bunny got transferred out before he got removed. So, pat myself on the back. Correct prediction made, but again, it was pretty obvious to me. I don't know. But this episode made me think that a lot of people now could be in line to pay the price for Bunny being transferred and Mike not keeping up his word. So, I mentioned Kyle, obviously, as someone who could get it, he, as someone who's close to Mike. But so could Carney, who I think would richly fucking deserve it after the way he treated Bunny in this episode, especially considering, like, you really are a piece of shit as a person or as a character in a TV show. Like, they really want you to hate this character. When Mike told Carney, be good to Bunny. If anything happens to Bunny, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, whatever happens to Bunny happens to you. And then in the very next episode, he has the nerve to, like, talk to Bunny the way he did. The caption said he called him LeBron, which is like, like low-key racist, high-key racist. But it sounded like he said DeBron to me, but I don't know what that means. But the caption said LeBron. I'm like, wow, what a fucking asshole this guy is. Which I already knew. But, like I said, Carney could get it. And the reason I don't think Carney's going to get it is because I don't think we're meant to like Carney. So if they kill Carney, then we're just be like, yeah, okay, he's a piece of shit anyway. So, like, they gotta, if Mike's gonna pay for these gang members getting transferred, it's not gonna be someone we don't like. It's gonna be someone we do like Ian. Like, we like Ian, somebody like Ian. So, but I don't think they're setting Ian up for that, or they're pulling Ian so far away from it so that we'll be surprised if it happens to Ian. But Ian is not on my list of potential people who could pay for Mike's stupid fucking plan. But Kareem is. Kareem could get it. Mike asked him not to sign the transfers. He's like, I can not sign, I signed the transfers, but that's it. I don't have any say over that. Mike's like, well, you can not sign them. But then they got transfers, so Kareem very clearly did sign the transfers. It would be interesting. Is Mike gonna have to kill Kareem for that? Like, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Especially if it's like, say whoever the Aryan leader is send somebody after Kyle, and they got Kyle tied up, and they're like, we're gonna kill your brother unless you kill Kareem for signing the transfers. Really interesting direction for that to go. So I feel like Kareem's on the table as well. And maybe even the DA could get it. Mike seemed to be, I think Mike, and let me know what you guys think. It felt to me like Mike was specifically telling Bunny the DA was responsible for the delay, as if to, like, move the attention away from Mike being responsible to the, like, hey, I've done my job. It's the DA that's the problem now. So maybe somebody sends somebody after the DA. It could happen. The only thing is, like, the DA hasn't been presented. Like, we don't know the DA. Like, if it was the assistant DA, if it was Evelyn, then it's like, okay, that's somebody who matters to us. The DA don't matter to us. I don't think we've seen this character. I don't think this character has a name. They just refer to him as the DA, him or her as the DA. So I feel like if you kill the DA, it's like, okay, well, in the magnitude of the show, it's like, oh, wow, they have prisoners who got a district attorney killed. But like for us as the viewers, the fans, it's like it doesn't matter because we don't know who this guy is. We're not invested in him or her. So I don't think it's gonna be the DA, but I like how Mike kind of puts it out there. Like, you know, if this goes wrong, it could end up on the DA's doorstep. She's like, you just threatened the DA, and it's like, well, no, but Mike didn't threaten the DA, but he gave a very real scenario in which the DA could be threatened, not by him, but by someone else. But there's a lot of interesting directions I think that could go. And then lastly, this episode continues to lean into the idea that everyone is losing faith in Mike's ability to do his job, Mike's word. We can start with just how ridiculous this plan was in the first place, right? Like, we're seeing all the ways that this plan could have gone wrong, go wrong. Like, everything's going wrong. It's a terrible plan, and every week when he's pressing people about getting Bunny out, the responses to him are kind of like, why would you think this was a good idea? Well, motherfucker, you didn't have a problem with it when Mike presented it. And I think that's what makes this so interesting, I think. Mike comes with this idea like, okay, I'm going to serve up these leaders to you guys, and that looks good for you, right? And all you got to do is let them iron their shit out while they're in there, and then we going to let them out, which we going to let them out sound like, even when he presented this idea, I'm like, this is a really bad idea. It doesn't sound like it's going to be that simple. But they all agreed to it. But they agreed to it because it's self-serving. And they probably don't give a fuck about Mike. So they're like, yeah, we'll agree to it. And then they're not thinking beyond, we got the gang leaders locked up. That's where their thought process ends. That's where Mike's thought process starts. He's trying to work to something way beyond that. They're just like, oh, we get the gang leaders locked up? Bet. And now Mike's like, where's the part to get them out? Like, where's the help there? And there's like, oh, it's too hard. Oh, all this red tape. Oh, I don't have to sign the transfers, but I still will. Like, now everyone is a way less enthusiastic to help him now that they got what they want. And now I'm super curious to see how Mike's going to respond to that, because he really is kind of getting played by everybody. Not played, but he's getting dismissed by everyone. And this is the kind of thing where, like, they're just like, well, we didn't make you make this deal. Like, this was dumb. But, like, okay, yeah, you didn't, but this deal has huge magnitude. And you've got all these guys in this prison who are expecting to be able to get out. Well, I can't say all, 4? Who are expecting to get out and who are not going to get out. Do you think you're absolved from the blowback here? Like, you're all over there, oh, Mike, what a stupid fucking idea this guy had. He's going to pay for that. You think Mike's going to pay for that alone? No, he's not. So Evelyn, you could get it. DA, you could get it. Kareem, you get it. He's all like, you're not in charge of me, Mike. I'm Kareem. Well, let the prisoners find out that you could have helped them not get transferred and you didn't. So, like, I like the idea of everyone being willing to take this from Mike, this being the leaders getting locked up, but then they look at it like, well, we got what we wanted. I'm not pressed on delivering on my part of the deal. And now Mike is sitting out here with Bunny, who has lived up to his part of the deal, but Mike can't live up to his part of the deal because the people who he dealt with, Evelyn and all of them, Kareem, whatever, they're not willing to hold up their part of the deal. And this complicated threesome, if you want to call it, this complicated threesome, the people who are not helping Mike are looking at it like, this ain't got nothing to do with us, which is a very short-sighted and stupid. And I look forward to them learning that it does have something to do with them. And that's what happens when you make deals or you make bargains or you give your word and you don't back it up. And when you watch the preview for next week, there's a scene where Mike's talking to someone. He says, when I say I'm going to do something, it gets fucking done. That's how I am. And I don't really have any patience for anything less than that. So, like, and if somebody gets in my way of keeping my word, I'm going to be pissed because that's my word. I gave it. I said I'm going to do something. I'm going to do it. So if you are now an obstacle to that, you are my fucking problem. And that's why I think these characters who are not helping Mike are going to be in for a rude awakening, whether that's from Mike or it's from Bunny or it's from one of the other gang leaders in there. But like I said, all this, like you see, I'm clearly fucking invested in the Mike Bunny prison shit. Just get Iris and fucking mom out of here. Miriam out of here. And also, why wouldn't they raise all these concerns beforehand? But of course, why would they? They wanted to get the gang leaders in prison. Why would they tell Mike all the ways his plan was stupid? Like, they got the leaders on the inside, and now you got the leaders who are already in there still, I mean, the leaders who are still on the inside trying to turn Bunny against Mike as well. Note that, too, for future episodes. As if Bunny needs any help being mad at Mike anyway. He's justifiably pissed. And then if that's not bad enough, Skinny Pete, like I said, took the bonds to Joseph. Worst possible person he could take him to in the world, which means that Milo will now know that the bonds are out there in the wind. And that's just another problem that Mike's going to have to deal with when, all the problems I've already laid out. So I love the mountain of problems. And, Evelyn's like, I have a lot on my plate. I don't have time for gravy. You know how much Mike has on his plate? Like, Mike has about 50 people who are waiting for Mike to hold up an end of a deal. They're gonna kill him. He don't give a fuck about your little shit either, Evelyn. But it's neither here nor there. So I want to wrap up with a couple of quick thoughts. The first is we see a Post-it note on Rebecca's desk that says back in 5 minutes. And I saw that and I was like, okay, Rebecca's gone, cool. And I wouldn't have thought anything of it if it wasn't for the fact that then Kyle and Mike talk about it. Like, Mike's like, where's Rebecca? And he's like, oh, there's a Post-it note that says she'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, now that's, one, I saw it, and now two, you're talking about it. Now it feels super conspicuous, and now I'm like, okay, has something happened to Rebecca? I feel like something happened to Rebecca. And then there's a scene where Ian and Miriam are walking. It's when Ian's walking Miriam into this juvenile center to talk to these guys, and a guard comes up to him, and he's like, all the prisons are releasing putting nonviolent offenders on the street in order to make room for the gang members in Tent City and the place where Bunny is at. And then he's like, what happens when the nonviolent get violent? Why would nonviolent offenders who are in prison who got released get violent? Like, am I misinterpreting like what's happening here? But he's like, make sure like it's gonna suck when they get violent. Like, why would somebody who's already nonviolent, because that's what they arrested for? Let's just make it more specific. Let's just say they're arrested for what we all get arrested for, having too much weed on you at one time. Let's say you got arrested for having too much weed on you at one time. You're like, fuck, now I'm in prison because I got too much weed on me. And then they go, you know what? We trying to get some of these real violent motherfuckers in here, and we need room. So guess what, buddy? You just hit the jackpot. Get the fuck out of here, man. We need your bunk. Why would he then get out and be like, no, I'm violent? Like, what is that? Like, why would he get violent? So, like, if you guys understand what that cop meant by that or that guard meant by that, let me know, because I don't understand why the non-violent would get violent when they're given a reward. I don't know why that would incite violence. So let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys next week for episode 5. And until then, peace.